Remember when carrying a BlackBerry meant you'd made it? That little red light blinking meant important people needed you right now. It was the ultimate status symbol for the ambitious professional class. BlackBerry owned the enterprise market completely, with corporate IT departments mandating their devices across entire organizations. But the consumer smartphone market was exploding around them. By all logic, a company that ignored individual users to focus solely on corporate contracts should not have survived the personal device revolution. And yet, BlackBerry remained convinced that business customers would always prioritize security and email over entertainment and apps. But here's the fatal flaw. They forgot that business users go home at night, and they wanted their work phone to be as enjoyable as their personal life. So what happened? How did the company that created mobile email become so trapped in their own success that they could not see their customers' lives changing? Origin story. The rise. Research in Motion, known then as RIM, began in Waterloo, Canada as the brainchild of Mike Lazaridis, an engineering genius with a vision of connected mobility. When Jim Balsillie joined as co-chief executive officer in 1992, bringing business acumen to complement Lazaridis' technical brilliance, they formed a partnership that would eventually revolutionize how professionals communicated. Their fundamental insight was not particularly complex, but it was transformative for its time. Business professionals needed access to email while away from their desks. In the late 1990s, this was radical thinking. Most executives were tethered to desktop computers, checking messages periodically throughout the day. Important decisions were delayed by hours or even days simply because key decision-makers could not be reached. RIM evolved from wireless pagers, but the breakthrough came with the BlackBerry 850 in 1999. This unassuming device, roughly the size of a deck of cards with a monochrome screen and a tiny keyboard, introduced a revolutionary concept: push email. Unlike pull systems where users had to manually check for messages, BlackBerry's system instantly delivered emails the moment they arrived on the server. This might seem trivial today, but in 1999 it was nothing short of revolutionary. For the first time, executives could respond to critical communications within minutes, regardless of location. The productivity implications were enormous. The market context could not have been better timed for BlackBerry's rise. The late 1990s and early 2000s represented a technological limbo. Basic mobile phones existed primarily for voice calls, while separate personal digital assistants, like the Palm Pilot, managed contacts and calendars. No single device effectively handled all these functions, let alone email. Corporate America was hungry for mobile connectivity solutions. The Y2K transition had prompted massive technology investments, and companies were increasingly global, with executives traveling between offices while needing to stay connected. BlackBerry arrived precisely when this need was reaching critical mass. What truly cemented BlackBerry's position was its unique security architecture. The BlackBerry Enterprise Server, or BES, gave IT departments unprecedented control over mobile devices. Messages were encrypted end-to-end. Data could be remotely wiped if devices were lost, and administrators could enforce password policies. For regulated industries like finance, government, and healthcare, these were not mere conveniences. They were essential compliance requirements. By 2002, BlackBerry had transitioned from a promising startup to a publicly traded company, with Fortune 500 corporations and government agencies as clients. Their growth trajectory was nothing short of remarkable. This was the golden era. Between 2003 and 2007, BlackBerry transcended from merely a useful business tool to a genuine cultural phenomenon. The term "crackberry" entered the lexicon, acknowledging the addictive nature of constant connectivity. Users would compulsively check their devices for the flashing red notification light, an almost Pavlovian response that created a new social dynamic. Wall Street executives conducted deals via BlackBerry. Politicians coordinated campaigns through them. Celebrities were photographed with their devices in hand. The distinctive form factor, dominated by that physical QWERTY keyboard, became instantly recognizable. The satisfying click of physical keys provided tactile feedback that users swore improved their typing speed and accuracy. BlackBerry Messenger, known as BBM, created exclusive communication networks before the concept of social media truly took hold. The ability to see when messages were delivered and read was innovative at the time. The closed network of BBM created an exclusive club. You needed a BlackBerry to participate, which only enhanced the device's status appeal. By 2009, BlackBerry commanded an astonishing 50% of the North American smartphone market and boasted over 50 million subscribers worldwide. Their stock reached an all-time high of $147 per share in 2008, and revenue skyrocketed from $85 million in 2002 to nearly $20 billion by 2011. By any business metric, BlackBerry was a phenomenal success story. The company's enterprise dominance was unquestionable. Their devices received the highest security clearances, with the United States President, military personnel, and sensitive government agencies standardizing on BlackBerry. Corporate IT departments followed suit, establishing BlackBerry as the default mobile solution for businesses. This position created a powerful ecosystem effect. The more companies that adopted BlackBerry, the more essential it became for others to follow suit for compatibility reasons. Software developers created enterprise applications specifically for the platform, further entrenching its position. BlackBerry appeared utterly unassailable. The first cracks. On January 9, 2007, Steve Jobs took the stage at Macworld and changed everything. The iPhone announcement showcased a fundamentally different vision of what a smartphone could be: a full-featured computer with a multi-touch display, a web browser, and, eventually, an app ecosystem. BlackBerry's leadership response revealed the first hints of fatal overconfidence. Jim Balsillie famously dismissed the iPhone, saying it was okay, we would be fine. Inside BlackBerry headquarters, executives were openly skeptical of a touchscreen device without a physical keyboard. They believed business users would reject a phone that could not be operated with one hand or typed on without looking at the screen. This dismissive attitude masked several concerning trends that were already emerging. Younger employees entering the workforce had different expectations for technology. They prioritized intuitive interfaces and versatility over specialized business features. The traditional IT department's iron grip on technology decisions was beginning to loosen. Apple's introduction of the App Store in 2008 fundamentally changed the smartphone value proposition. Suddenly, phones were not just communication tools, but platforms for thousands of specialized applications. BlackBerry's email prowess looked increasingly one-dimensional in comparison. Perhaps most critically, the line between personal and professional device usage was blurring. The bring-your-own-device movement began as employees, particularly executives, requested to use their personal iPhones for work purposes. IT departments initially resisted but gradually capitulated as pressure mounted from senior leadership. BlackBerry's first attempts to counter the iPhone threat revealed both technical and philosophical limitations. The BlackBerry Storm, released in 2008, featured a touchscreen that physically clicked when pressed, an awkward hybrid that satisfied neither traditional BlackBerry users nor converts to touch interfaces. Its poor reception foreshadowed deeper problems in the company's product development approach. The decline came from multiple factors. BlackBerry's fall wasn't caused by a single misstep, but by a constellation of interconnected factors that together proved fatal. The first and perhaps most fundamental was consumer blindness. BlackBerry's leadership remained fixated on enterprise customers, viewing the consumer market as fundamentally different and less important. While Apple and Google courted individual users, BlackBerry continued to sell primarily to IT departments. This approach ignored a crucial shift. Consumers were increasingly driving technology adoption. When executives brought their personal iPhones to their IT departments requesting email access, they were not making technical arguments, they were exerting executive authority. BlackBerry failed to recognize that losing the consumer meant eventually losing the enterprise. Their physical keyboard obsession became increasingly problematic. While early touchscreen typing was indeed inferior to BlackBerry's physical keys, Apple and Android manufacturers rapidly improved their software keyboards. Meanwhile, BlackBerry invested enormous resources in refining physical keyboard designs rather than developing competitive touchscreen experiences. The Storm's failure highlighted this problem. Its sure-press clicking screen attempted to provide physical feedback, but created an awkward user experience. By the time BlackBerry released more conventional touchscreen devices, consumers had already adapted to typing on glass, and the keyboard advantage had diminished considerably. Perhaps no factor was more consequential than the ecosystem war. Apple's App Store launched with 500 applications in 2008 and grew exponentially. Google's Android market, later called Play Store, followed a similar trajectory. By the time BlackBerry App World arrived in 2009, they were already hopelessly behind. The numbers tell the story. By 2011, Apple's App Store had over 500,000 applications, while BlackBerry had barely 50,000. More critically, major developers prioritized iOS and Android, often leaving BlackBerry as an afterthought or ignoring it entirely. Even enterprise software developers began prioritizing iOS, undermining BlackBerry's core strength. The broader ecosystem battle proved equally challenging. Google provided Android free to device manufacturers, creating a diverse hardware ecosystem at various price points. Apple's integrated approach delivered a premium, consistent experience. BlackBerry's closed system, once an advantage for security, became a liability as they lacked the resources to compete on multiple fronts. Carrier support also shifted dramatically. Wireless providers had once prominently featured BlackBerry devices, but as consumer demand for iPhone and Android devices grew, BlackBerry displays moved to less prominent positions in stores. Without carrier marketing support, BlackBerry's visibility diminished. Finally, leadership arrogance prevented course correction. The Keo Chief Executive Officer structure, with Lazaridis and Balsillie sharing power, created decision-making bottlenecks at a time when rapid adaptation was essential. Their public dismissal of competitors' innovations reinforced an internal culture resistant to change. Most fatally, the leadership remained convinced of BlackBerry's inherent superiority in the enterprise market, believing business requirements would ultimately trump consumer preferences. This fundamental misreading of market dynamics prevented the company from making the dramatic changes necessary for survival. The final blow, between 2010 and 2012, BlackBerry's position deteriorated rapidly. Apple's iPhone 4 and the iPad demonstrated that consumer devices could handle enterprise workloads effectively. Microsoft Exchange ActiveSync and other solutions made corporate email accessible on iOS and Android devices, eliminating BlackBerry's key advantage. Market share collapsed from 50% to just 3% in North America within 3 years. Major corporate clients began officially supporting iPhones and Android devices, breaking BlackBerry's enterprise monopoly. The transition happened with stunning speed. Once it began, the momentum became unstoppable. The Playbook tablet, released in 2011, epitomized BlackBerry's disconnect from market realities. Incredibly, the device launched without native email support, the very feature that had built BlackBerry's empire. Users had to tether a BlackBerry phone to access email on the Playbook, a bizarre limitation for a company built on communication. The Playbook's failure was catastrophic. BlackBerry took a $485 million write-down on unsold inventory and damaged its innovation reputation precisely when it needed to demonstrate forward thinking. The contrast with Apple's thriving iPad could not have been more stark. BlackBerry's last major attempt at revival came with the BlackBerry 10 operating system in 2013. Despite some innovative features, it arrived years too late. The company tried pivoting to software and services, emphasizing its security expertise, but massive layoffs and restructuring followed as hardware sales collapsed. The stock price, once $147 per share, fell to under $10. BlackBerry's fall coincided with a fundamental transformation in the mobile industry. Smartphones evolved from communication devices to pocket computers, with entertainment, social media, and general computing capabilities becoming as important as traditional phone functions. For the first time in corporate technology history, consumer preferences were driving enterprise adoption rather than the reverse. Companies had traditionally deployed technology that trickled down to consumers, but smartphones reversed this flow. Personal devices became work devices, not the other way around. Single-purpose devices vanished across categories. GPS units, point-and-shoot cameras, portable music players, and personal digital assistants were all absorbed into the smartphone. BlackBerry's focus on communication excellence seemed increasingly narrow in this context. For Canada's technology industry, BlackBerry's decline represented a significant setback. At its peak, the company was Canada's most valuable tech firm and a source of national pride. Its fall contributed to a brain drain as talented engineers moved to Silicon Valley, despite government efforts to support domestic technology development. Could BlackBerry have survived? The question haunts Canadian tech history. Perhaps their most viable alternative path would have been embracing Android early, while layering their security architecture and enterprise features on top. Samsung eventually followed this strategy successfully with Knox, their enterprise security platform for Android devices. Another missed opportunity was licensing their software, rather than insisting on controlling the hardware. BlackBerry's BES infrastructure and security expertise could have become an industry standard across devices, positioning them as the enterprise layer for the smartphone revolution rather than a competitor to it. Acquisitions might have provided another avenue. As BBM gained popularity, BlackBerry could have expanded its communication platform beyond its own devices. Imagine if they had acquired Instagram or WhatsApp, leveraging their expertise in secure messaging while expanding beyond hardware. Ultimately, BlackBerry's failure stemmed from defining their market too narrowly. By seeing themselves exclusively as an enterprise communication company, they missed the broader transformation occurring in mobile computing. Their greatest strength, enterprise customers, became their greatest weakness when those customers' needs evolved beyond BlackBerry's vision. So the next time you see someone struggling to type on their iPhone, remember BlackBerry. Remember when mobile email felt like magic, when that little red light made you feel important. When a physical keyboard was the height of mobile sophistication. BlackBerry didn't just lose a market, they lost their way. They became so convinced they knew what their customers needed that they forgot to ask what their customers wanted. In the end, the very arrogance that built their empire became the poison that destroyed it. But what do you reckon? Was BlackBerry's fall inevitable once the iPhone arrived, or could different leadership decisions have saved them? Did you ever own a BlackBerry? And what was it that finally made you switch? Drop your memories and thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your take. If you enjoyed this deep dive into corporate arrogance, give us a like, hit subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss the next one. Cheers for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.